What's happening, everybody? We are live on Periscope with the Midwest Wing Periscope chat and podcast simulcast. I'm your host, Brandon Warren, here to chat a little bit about your Minnesota Twins. Have a little fun with it here. I promised last time that we talked that, well, I guess I didn't promise, but I said or suggested that I might be a dad by the next time that we chatted. That is not true yet. Still waiting on Little Miss Harper to emerge, so hopefully that'll happen here very soon. We do have an induction date set for next week, so we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, I'm here to chat a little bit about the Twins, a little bit about, I don't know, whatever else you guys want to talk about. We'll take some questions. Again, reminder, if you have questions, you can post them here on the app, and I will get to them as I'm able. If I can see them, they don't always stay on the screen for very long, which is difficult. Otherwise, send them to me on Twitter at Brandon_Warren. Reminder, if you like Amazon and you like zone coverage, check out zonecoverage.com/Amazon. All your Amazon shopping needs, and nothing changes for you. You use Amazon Prime, Pantry, any of the Amazon features that you like, nothing changes. So it would be great for you to go to zonecoverage.com/Amazon. Nick Tuttle saying Presley looked good, needing to see consistency from that. He was filthy. Yes, I thought Ryan Presley's inning last night was phenomenal. One inning, 3 strikeouts, 18 pitches, 12 strikes. I just thought he looked absolutely fantastic. He was mixing the curve, the fastball, and the slider all with good regularity and location. I thought that even though I think there was a missed strike call there on one of the breaking balls, he did a good job to stay composed. I might have sent him out there for the 8th inning as well. I am really down on Matt Belisle right now, and I don't think I'm alone in that respect. It's just really been a tough start for him, and I think they got to reestablish him in earlier innings. And so I think that, with Adam Wilk on the staff, with Justin Haley on the staff as well, you can move Tyler Duffy to later innings, which makes it much easier to back off also from Matt Belisle, who is clearly struggling at this point. Some good news coming from Nick Cafardo, one of the best national writers in the biz. Ron Gardenhire, who has been dealing with prostate cancer, will return to the Diamondbacks coaching staff on Sunday. Very excited to see Ron Gardenhire back in baseball and healthy, as far as we know. Skinny Gardy, too. He looks a lot thinner, which I think is a health thing. Obviously, wanting to take better care of himself, which is great. Eric Pleiss asking a bunch of questions on here. Eric, send them to Twitter so that I can see them. He asked how I choose between a crew neck and a V-neck every single day. I'm a big fan of the Duluth Trading Company V-necks, so I wear those just about every single day, which is kind of a staple for me. What is on the wall behind me? Well, the podcast listeners won't be able to hear this, but it is my bulletin board, my Woody Page chalkboard, so to speak, and it has my schedule for writing. It's actually old, though. I haven't updated it. It's got a lot of stuff that needs to be updated. So maybe next time I'll put a little inspirational message on there or something. Somebody just asked if, or what the leash is on Phil Hughes. I don't think Phil Hughes is in any danger. Just too much going on with other pitchers that need to get into the mix. And other than the home run, I don't know if Hughes looked all right last night. He didn't look good. He didn't look horrible. The numbers just didn't look great at the end, but he's mixing and matching with the sinker, the sinker, the curve, the knuckle curve rather, the changeup, and the cutter. I mean, I don't know what the ceiling is for a guy like that, but he's gutting it out and looking fairly good in doing so. 6 swinging strikes and 81 pitches. Again, not a very great rate, but I don't know. I think he's evolving as a pitcher, and I think it's only going to benefit him and the Twins the longer that he's able to do that. A couple takeaways from last night. Escobar with the only multi-hit game among Twins. Twins only had 6 hits, but 3 of them left the yard. Brian Dozier, Miguel Sano, and Escobar. All hitting home runs in the first 2 innings. Kind of set the tone for I don't know, the offensive explosion, so to speak. The Twins had 6 runs in the first 2 innings. 1 run the rest of the way, kind of held tight at the end. I did think Brandon Kinsler coming in the 8th inning with the double play potential was a good idea. It just didn't pan out in terms of if he threw the wild pitch, and so he ended up having to strike 2 guys out, which was a bit surprising. A reminder: if you have questions for me, it's best to send them to Twitter at Brandon_Warren. Those stay up there. I have my tweet deck right here. So, we can answer questions on there. Eric Pleiss, we've buried the lead here. Let's talk about Berrios. You mentioned his swinging strike rate the other day. Details. Okay. So, Fangraphs has a swinging strike rate at 8.9%. Baseball Reference says 10%. I'm sure that foul balls probably are the... Foul tips, foul balls are probably the difference here in terms of classification. Some places have them a little bit different. Really not that big of a deal either way, because 10% from the minor leagues is not really great. So what that means is basically Berrios is getting called strikes in the minors, which is worrisome because umpiring is not as great down there. Obviously, hitting's not as great down there and all that stuff. So hopefully when he comes up, he will have good command and all that. But he's not blowing people away, despite the fact that he's only got like a 1.09 ERA. And in fact, I did rolling 6-game splits. He started 6 games this year, 1 point whatever ERA. He's had better 6-game splits six-game stretches in my opinion at AAA. He's had lower ERAs. He's had better OPS against. He's had much better swinging strike rates. So this is not as dominant as he's ever been in a 6-game stretch at Rochester. So I don't know. I mean, I hope he does well, and I hope he comes up and benefits from pitching to Jason Castro and all those things, but I'm not, ready to lock him in as a stud. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, he's going to face Mike Clevenger, who's a pretty good young righty for the Indians that is up because Corey Kluber is down, so we'll see if he gets to stay up. But very exciting young pitcher for the Indians as well. So it's going to be a good young starter duel either way. Eric says, is this one start or will he stick? No, I think he's going to stick. I don't think there's any way they bring him up for one start. I think it's a 4 or 5 start audition at the very least. I don't think it's going to be short. And frankly, who else do you bring up? And if you bring them up, they probably take Tepish's spot. So if you're going to bring up Kyle Gibson after a few starts or Adalberto Mejia, it's on the basis of those guys pitching their way into the rotation over Tepish, or if Hughes backslides a ways, which is possible. I mean, we have to be realistic with a guy throwing 88 to 90 and learning how to basically change up, pun intended, I guess, everything that he's doing as a pitcher on the fly. So there may be some hiccups along the way. There's always injuries. There's potential for trades and all that fun stuff. But I do think that Berrios is going to lock down that spot, assuming he performs. I'm just thinking it's not a temporary move because they just want him to be up and not to yo-yo him back and forth from the minor leagues, which I think makes a ton of sense. Stability is very important for young pitchers in addition to stability in the environment, but stability for themselves. But bringing up Berrios to work in an environment with a good catcher, on a team that's winning semi-frequently, I think all these things can benefit him in some form or fashion, and hopefully each of those things can add up to whatever it takes for him to find that next level. I do expect a lot of people to say they were wrong about the service time thing. I know that it's a fool's errand. People will not admit they were wrong, but it's not a service time thing. And again, it was foolish to call it a service time thing. The dude has an 8 ERA in the major leagues. They want to get him right. If you are thinking about saving money 6 years down the road on a guy who can't get big league hitters out in his present form, you have the wrong focus. Okay? So that's why I don't think it made any sense to talk about finances. Again, I understand how good he has been at Rochester this year. He has been good at Rochester forever. He has never really been bad at Rochester. Dominating Rochester is not your baseline here. Being better than Nick Tepesh is not your baseline here. And that's what drives me crazy, is people on, and I don't want to throw Twins Daily under the bus. They just have where everyone congregates. But I did see everyone suggesting, wow, really, Nick Birdie isn't better than Adam Wilk, and Jake Reed isn't better than Adam Wilk, and Mason Milotakis isn't better than Adam Wilk. That's not the point. Teams don't bring their 25 best men on the 25-man roster. They don't bring their 40 best men on the 40-man roster. There's all kinds of layers that you have to deal with. Biggest thing as far as development is not, is Jose Barrios better than Nick Tepesh? It's, is Jose Barrios as good as Jose Barrios needs to be in this moment in time? You need to isolate their development and where they're at in their development, and if they're as good as they can be in that moment. And that's what frustrates me is Jose Barrios is better than Tepesh, but he just can't be merely better than Tepesh. That's not enough for a guy whose career has a higher arc than Tepesh could even imagine. First round pick, all that stuff. 95 mile per hour fastball, good curveball, everything. And so that's why, that's what frustrates me about that line of thinking. Matt Liefeld wants to know, why did the Twins not do a doubleheader yesterday? It seems like a lot to have a 5-game series in August next time in Chi-Town. I never really know how they decide that. It might have to do with days off. Excuse me, but because I believe the Twins play like 40 games over the next 41 days or something like that. Phil Miller tweeted that. So maybe they have more off days around then. I'm not exactly sure. There's a lot of layers that go into play that's way above my pay grade, which is not saying much. Eric Pleiss, I have 2 blisters on my right non-throwing hand, another lefty, which is good, from some overzealous gardening. What should I do? I think you just have to play through the pain, man. You know what? No pain, no gain. And those hostas aren't going to get planted unless you fight through it. Go back and look at the tape, see what you're doing wrong, all that good stuff. So, got to fight through it, man. Eric also says, if a coffee shop has an abstract painting of a 1980s Honda motorcycle on the wall, is it a hipster spot? No, you got to go back to the 70s for hipster. 80s is just too mainstream. So I would say it's close, but it's trying too hard. What other fun Twin stuff do we want to talk about? I think somebody had asked about Escobar DHing. Did I study my home run film from softball the other night? No, I did not. I don't know that anybody was filming, but go Daddy go, right? So yeah, somebody said Escobar notwithstanding his home run yesterday. What about Vargas getting in the lineup every day and all that fun stuff? Yeah, I do agree that they need to find ways to get Vargas in there while he's swinging well, which is the case right now. But they do want to get Escobar in there too as well with how he's swinging. I think they do want to keep him in the mix as well. But obviously I think Vargas is the more pressing issue based on what he's capable of. Yes, Las Vargas. I love that. What do people like better? Las Vargas or Kenny Biggs? Because we will make the hashtag whatever people want. And for the next couple home runs that he hits, I'll do both and see what kind of reaction we get. But I like Las Vargas. I like Kenny Biggs. I like Miggy Smalls. Miguel Sano celebrating his 24th birthday yesterday with a home run, which was pretty cool as well. Anyway, back to Escobar and Vargas. Yeah, I think you got to get Vargas in there more frequently. But like we've said in previous podcasts, it's difficult because Grossman is getting on base, so you want to get him in there. Rosario is swinging it a little better, so you want to get him in there. Kepler cooled off a little bit, but is good on base and all that stuff, so you got to get him in there. And Buxton is obviously your future in center field, even though, tough night 0-for-4 last night. But there's lots of layers when it comes to, getting these guys playing time. And that's why day-to-day lineup stuff I don't think is that much to, wring hands about. I will say this, though. I thought Vargas made sense as the DH yesterday. For all the crap that I gave people about the Homer Simpson ducking back into the bushes, Vargas has hit lefties fairly well at times in his big league career, especially last year. And Escobar has too. So obviously you'd probably pick the big guy that looks like he has more power, obviously has more power, all that stuff. It just worked out. Sometimes you can have bad process, good results. I'm not blind to that fact. But where was I going with that? Yeah, I think you do have to find playing time for all these guys in some form or fashion so that you can keep them all fresh. And this offense is going to be as good as their pieces allow it to be, which I think is very good. I don't think day-to-day lineups are that really worth freaking out about, but I did think Vargas probably should have started over Escobar in that moment, but it panned out and it worked. Eric says, Twins were bearish on Park after hot spring. What does he have to do now that he's healthy in AAA? Honestly, it's tough to say because if they settle into a regular situation where Vargas DHs, Grossman is on the bench, and Park is hitting well at AAA, you could, in theory, make it work. I didn't think it made sense if Grossman was the starting DH to bring up Park and have both him and Vargas on the bench. But if Vargas is your starting DH, you could, in theory, have a bench of Jimenez, Escobar, Park, Grossman. That means Adrianza's out of the mix, so you're going to have to think about how you feel about that. But with the versatility of Escobar, you can make that happen. With the fact that the Polanco is picking the ball up, so is Sano at third base, you don't really need an added, a defensive first backup. That's not to say Adrianza doesn't have value and isn't useful, all that fun stuff. But it does give you a thumper off the bench. So we'll see what happens in terms of that. Adam Kruger, follow-up question: where do you play Park if you bring him up? That is the difficult question. If you bring up Park and can't play him, I don't know. If you can't get him in there for 200 plate appearances the rest of the way, that's not a good situation either. So, but Adrianza's not getting that much playing time, so you do have to weigh late game if you think you're going to need a bat or a glove, more likely. And the other tough thing is if you bring him in to hit, you have to go to someone else defensively. And if Escobar or Grossman are your only defensive backups, that's not really a great situation either. And who's Park going to hit for at that point? Is he going to hit for Buxton? I mean, maybe, but you really want Buxton in there in the late innings for defensive purposes. Wow, lots of great questions today. I'm trying to get to all of them. We got 1 minute to go here. Matt Liefeld, thoughts on bringing Kinsler in the eighth? I mentioned this earlier. I think it was a good move to try save double play potential because of his ground ball penchant. So I think that was a great move. Grant Spears did say over under 1.5 on Wilk, Rusinski, and one other guy being on the 40-man at the All-Star break. I'll probably take the under. I think Wilk gets taken off pretty quickly. I don't think he's going to have a ton of value on this team. But we'll see what happens. Last one. Matt Liefeld wants to... Oh, Tepish. Yeah, I don't think any of those guys. I think maybe Rusinski last, and that's about it. Last question. Matt Liefeld, how long does Breslow stay? I really don't know, but I don't think it's going to be all that long because I really do think they need someone who can give them a little more firepower out there. All right, thanks for joining us. Hopefully, next time we meet, I Am a Father, we will see what happens. Thanks for joining us on the Midwest Wing Podcast and Simulcast. Peace. Enjoy your day.